So this is private sector breakout session number 2, empowering scaled economical, mental, and emotional wellness solutions for organizations. Our speakers are Patrick Sandone and Andrew Roke of Guide. Patrick is a successful entrepreneur who built and sold his software-as-a-service startup, NetDriven, after building a 100-person team. Prior to NetDriven, he ran his family business, Sandone Tire, for 3 years and nearly doubled revenues, adding more than $10 million by implementing new technology solutions. He is also a former venture capitalist with Monitor Clipper in Boston and an investment banker with DLJ in New York City. He graduated from the University of Pennsylvania, summa cum laude, and Phi Beta Kappa with a BA in biology and an MBA from Columbia with honors. Andy supervises the day-to-day operations at Guide and leverages 12+ years of experience in direct client management and retention. Andy led Airmark Uniform Services in Los Angeles and increased annual revenue to 25 multi-million, it says. Is that true? Million? In 2 years by increasing client retention from 75% to 95%. He graduated from Misericordia University with a BA in sports management and an MBA from Marywood University. And we're good to go. We're up. Please welcome Patrick and Andy.
All right, it's great to be here. Hi, everybody. My name is Patrick Sandone with Guide, and I'm here today to talk about mental and emotional wellness. And this is an idea that actually came from a period in my life where I wasn't experiencing mental and emotional wellness. I had sold NetDriven, made more money than I ever thought I'd make, had a lot of success, but found myself actually very unhappy. And I pursued a lot of different techniques to build the right mindset and emotional intelligence. And I found them profoundly helpful, except it was just very expensive and time-consuming to access and learn these things. So I had to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in about 4 years traveling all over the world, meeting with experts, learning all these different techniques, and it was profound, right? And what came to me was, wow, I think everyone could benefit from these things, but they're incredibly hard to access. How can I use what I know well, technology, to bring this to more people? And based on that, we founded Guide, and that's what we're here to talk about today. One of the things that's really unique about Guide is we wanted to remove the barriers to accessing these things, so we wanted to make it super economical. We want to make it something that you can access anywhere and also destigmatize learning these types of techniques. So I think this, when I first created this business, this was not the case, but now it's just everywhere, right? We're seeing athletes, we're seeing politicians, we're seeing celebrities talking about mental and emotional wellness and how important it is. And big institutions like McKinsey are out there talking about how this is the next revolution. And in reality, Google searches for these kinds of topics are, growing at an astronomical rate. Yet, a lot of it's still very hard to access. There's a lot of barriers with traditional ways to learn these kinds of techniques. A lot of things are very expensive. They're hard to access. The schedules are too infrequent to be really effective. The solutions aren't scalable. And for all these reasons, we created Guide. And what we believe is that mental and emotional wellness is built a little bit every day over time, just like physical health, right? So I think traditionally mental and emotional wellness is something you did once in a while, or maybe you went to a seminar for a weekend and you were done, right? But I think we all know if we went and we lifted weights for 2 days straight and then didn't do it again all year, would we get stronger? No, it actually could hurt us, right? But if you do it a little bit every day, over time, we know that you build strength. You can build conditioning. You can build a healthy diet will, increase your lifespan. It will increase your quality of life. And what we're discovering, and there was actually an article in the Wall Street Journal about this, is that mental and emotional wellness is the same way. It's something that you have to do a little bit every day, over time, and you strengthen yourself and you build resilience. So again, this is why we created Guide. And what Guide is it's a research-backed solution in a space we call social wellness. And it combines community, a daily practice, and wisdom to deliver sustainable mental and emotional wellness at a very, very low cost. The first part is community, and this is like a really critical part of what we do. So community is important because for a couple different reasons. A lot of people practice these things, like you read a self-help book, you do it and you don't tell anybody about it, right? You just read the book, you put it away, and you may never even practice it, right? Which really does very little, for you. Getting out and actually talking to people about this, being in community, makes a giant difference. There's a lot of research around this. Actually, one of the studies was done at the University of Scranton. They found that if you set a goal and you don't tell anybody, you have a 3% chance of achieving it. But if you set a goal and you tell people, you have an 80% chance of achieving it. The other reason why community is important is in our tests we found that when we had community active, we had engagement as high as 86%. That meant that of the people in the test, 86% were engaging daily, and that's compared to an average wellness app today, which has engagement levels of about 3%. So community has a profound impact on enrolling people and actually doing these practices on a regular basis. The other interesting fact is one of our advisors advises faith-based organizations, which have been shrinking, how they can grow. And what she found is the number one factor that underlies a successful community of a successful faith-based organization are small groups, which is something we've implemented to really create a much bigger impact on the populations we serve. The second part is the daily practice, and this is basically the workout. This is your workout. This is customized to you as a person based on where you're at and the goals that you have. They are practices designed to create better habits. They're gamified to increase motivation. And you'll see in the next slide, we've found the best experts in these fields all around the world and brought them onto our advisory board and our team to really help put together practices that will be effective and something you can do just for a couple minutes a day on your phone, anywhere you are. So the other part is wisdom, which is the collection of all the practices and content in the app. We've teamed up with some of the best people in the field. So Beena Sharma, who has a group called Vertical Development that she created with Suzanne Cook-Gruder. Suzanne Cook-Gruder is a Harvard professor that designed one of the leading theories on human development. She puts together in-person programs for companies like Google and other big companies teaching these techniques to the top executives. We've got Tim Kelly. Tim Kelly is an interesting person. He was a naval officer. He was also one of the top executives at Oracle, left that life to basically become a pioneer in the space of personal development. He's written several books, and he teaches these programs to Fortune 500 companies. He actually works with several presidential candidates and celebrities. And then Boyson Hodgson runs one of the largest human development organizations in the world. So we went out, found the best people to help advise us on what things are going to work well in this environment, and it's been paying off. We've been getting programs that have a profound effect in a small amount of time, which is our goal. So what impact do we want to have with organizations? That's our focus. We want to work with organizations as opposed to some companies, they go direct to individuals. My area of expertise is working with organizations. That's my whole career has been focused on selling different kinds of solutions into organizations. We want to help people within organizations increase productivity, increase job satisfaction, and increase retention, right? And these are critical right now. Retention is a big issue for organizations. Job satisfaction is a huge issue. Productivity is a huge issue. And we also want to reduce presenteeism, absenteeism, and burnout, which are also big issues. It's interesting, presenteeism may be one of the biggest issues out there, and it may be a word that you haven't heard. It's basically people showing up for work and not doing anything. I mean, we've all done it. I do it some days, right? But it's very much linked to mental and emotional wellness, and the cost of presenteeism for organizations is usually about 3 times what they pay for healthcare. So it's a huge unseen cost that we can make a profound difference in. And just offering a wellness program like ours has a profound difference in terms of increasing job satisfaction, increasing productivity. And then if it's effective, like ours is, it doubles or triples that impact. So we are excited to make this kinds of an impact at this time for organizations. We have done a bunch of different testing. And this was a test where we got the best results. We had 88% of the people engaged every day, which is a phenomenal number. We don't even hope to have that when we go live with our production product in January. But people rated the experience as a 4 or a 5. 90% rated their experience as a 4 or a 5 out of 5 stars, and 100% people said they would use it when we launched the actual product. Again, our focus is focusing on organizations. And what's interesting is that this is the time for this product. So wellness is a big thing now, and it's been kind of a building wave for a while. And what we see is there's 3 discrete segments of wellness products coming into the market. I think this really started with meditation apps. And now we have multiple billion-dollar companies providing meditation solutions, and 165 million downloads of meditation solutions in 2020 alone. Wave 2 were telehealth apps, right? Connecting individuals through technology virtually with another human being to provide coaching or therapy. And wave 3 is what we're talking about now. This market is exploding, 45% growth year over year. It's expected to be $350 billion in sales in 2026 and trillions of dollars in market cap. It's predicted to be one of the largest markets ever to exist in terms of business. And again, we are focused on organizations. One of our specific focuses is working with first responders and veterans, and we have some stuff in the works in those markets. It's an area where there's a big need and where our product really fits in well because of the anywhere, anytime access and the effectiveness of what we're providing. There are other competitors in our space. But interestingly, there's really nobody in this area yet that we're in that is really providing what we would call subclinical solutions for big populations, addressing common problems which left unaddressed could become clinical level issues. Things like difficulty in relationships, negative thinking, difficult emotions, loneliness, low self-esteem, low confidence, stress. I mean, these are things that probably a lot of us experience, but we don't necessarily know how to manage those things or work through them. We teach those techniques in an anonymous situation, supported with an anonymous peer support group that ends up being really effective. And for organizations, one of the big benefits is we can keep people out of the clinical level, where if you end up in that bucket, you're paying $500 to $5,000 a month per person. You can pay us $5 or less. So it's a great investment economically as well as socially. We've got a great team. Myself, Tim Kelly, I mentioned before, he's what we call our Chief Consciousness Officer. He's in charge of the content. He's written a number of books in this area, a top executive with Oracle. He's put together programs for big companies like Nabisco, PwC, worked with presidential candidates. Kareem Varela, are right now part-time, ready to come on full-time whenever. Chief Technology Officer. He was the number 2 guy at Tinder, helped them scale from 50,000 to 5 million members, led the technology team at Coffee Meets Bagel, and was also one of the chief engineers at Fandango. Terrell McCaslin, he launched a wellness app in Mexico, which had a peer support angle to it. He just came on as our head of product full-time. And Andy Roke, this handsome gentleman right over here, is our corporate business manager with a lot of experience in business management as well as customer retention. We've got also some great advisors, and we just added a couple more that aren't on the slide yet. I mentioned Bina and Boyson before. Kevin Winters has 20 years of experience in digital healthcare. Most recently helped lead the acquisition of Silver Cloud, which sold for 25 times revenue, and now runs Kooth, which is a K-12 wellness-related business focused in the United States. Scott Kaplan, CFO at the investment bank I worked at in New York, founded an investment bank, founded a wellness business, really great on the financial and accounting side of things. Daniel Litvak, CTO, who founded Fetch Rewards, which is now a $2.5 billion technology unicorn. and Tracy Morgan, Harvard MBA, Princeton undergrad, and somebody who's an expert in advising faith-based organizations. So just a great group of people to be able to help us navigate the landscape. Financial projections, which I won't cover today. So where are we right now? So basically we are, have moved through this early development phase of raising money. We've raised about 1.7 million so far total. We've built an app for testing purposes, ran a bunch of tests. I think it's 4 tests now. Built a team, built an advisory board, and we're basically in phase 2, where we're starting to build out the team and build out our go-to-market app, which will be ready January 1st. We're also raising money if anybody's interested in investing. We're going to be closing out the round here probably in the next month. But I think the big picture here is that mental and emotional wellness is something that's been stigmatized and something that we really haven't thought about. And what is interesting is I look at how physical wellness has evolved. So if you can imagine what was the state of affairs and how did people think about physical wellness, even if we go back 70 years, it's 1950. How many people do you think worked out, like proactively worked out? If you weren't an athlete, you're just a human being, right? Very small amount. It was very, very, very uncommon. Actually, a friend of mine, my dad's friend, played football at Temple. He said in the 60s, the late 60s, he was playing football at a collegiate level, and he was one of the few guys actually lifting weights, which is mind-blowing, right? I mean, now if you're a collegiate athlete and you're not lifting weights, that would be highly unusual. Back then, it was highly unusual to lift weights. Right? So our understanding of how the human body worked has evolved a tremendous amount in just the last 50 years, to the point where now there's a gym on every corner, and we know for a fact that if you lift weights, you exercise, and you eat healthy, you're going to extend your life, the quality of your life, and the length of your life. And now we may not all do it, but at least we know, right? We know that it's the way it works. And what I believe is that we are coming into a phase where we're going to start to look at mental and emotional wellness in the same way. And why is it happening? Why all of a sudden is, for the human history, we didn't have to worry about it. And now all of a sudden it's like, all right, now we have to start taking proactive control of this. I think a lot of it's because life has just become more complicated. There's each individual has a lot more responsibility on their shoulders for their own life. Traditionally, we were a little bit of a paternalistic society where your needs were basically taken care of. You worked for a company, and you maybe, back in the 60s, you'd stay there for life, you had a pension, and everything worked out, right? Now we're in a phase, we're in the gig economy, which means that everybody's really an entrepreneur. And what that means is there's more responsibility, which means you have to be able to handle more stress. Life is inherently more stressful because more falls upon your shoulders. I think the other thing that's leading to this revolution is technology. And there's a lot of upsides to having basically a TV in your back pocket, but there's a lot of downsides if you don't use it well. It can really degrade your mental and emotional wellness with overuse. It's easy. It's built on an addiction cycle, which if you give into it regularly, has a really negative consequence on your mental and emotional wellness. Mainly because we are what we consume, not only in our bodies, but in our minds. So as we consume, memes of cats over and over again for hours every day, it's basically like eating, onion rings, onion rings, which I love. That's your whole diet, right? It's not good. It's not good. But we don't, I think we're just starting to figure all this out, right? So this is why technologies like ours, I think, will become prevalent, and everyone will use them at some point, because it will be necessary to navigate modern society. And we'll all be embracing and be proud of the fact that we take care of our mental and emotional wellness. And we're actually starting to see it in younger populations. So we have some people that we've spoken to in their early 20s, and they're like, they're proud to have a therapist. They talk to their friends about it. They talk about what they're learning about themselves, and increasing self-awareness, increasing self-understanding, increasing resiliency. These are things that they're proud of, and they're building proactively. So we really see that this will be something, and we're not going to be the only ones leading this revolution, but this is going to be something that everyone's going to embrace and do. And we're excited to be part of it. It's a really exciting time. It's an exciting industry. And, I think we are here in part because we are looking for academic researchers that are affiliated with universities to help lead some research on our upcoming pilot program. So if anybody has any affiliation there, we'd love to work with the local university. In part, it looks like there's going to be another university involved, but we'd love to bring in some local people to be part of that research. I think it could be really groundbreaking in terms of detailing the specific impacts that our technology and courses have on human populations to increase mental and emotional wellness. So that's all I got for my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone might have. Yes?
All right, thank you very much. That's a pretty compelling product. My question actually kind of relates to the previous presenter who was talking about his Guardian product, that basically red flags, potential threats. And I'm wondering, is there any sort of mechanism that you're foreseeing with your product that would red flag someone and notify the employer if there's some really dark stuff going on, with that person, or would a mechanism like that jeopardize the trust, needed in order for someone to participate fully in your product? Yeah,
it's a good question. So there's two answers to it. One, what we've chosen to do is use a third party to basically store any personal information. So not even we will know who you are. And that is important because, if you're a police officer, you can't have any risk that anything you're saying in the app is going to be then used against you. But we do have multiple ways to be able to flag content in the app and to allow people to connect immediately with crisis resources and things like that. But we will not be, we don't want to know who's who in the app. We want to create a good, healthy environment. And what's interesting is in our tests, we've had no issues related to that. Now, when we scale and we've got millions of people using it, I'm sure things will come up and we have mechanisms in place to deal with it.
Thank you. I think that's it. That ends our session.
All
Thanks,
right.
Patrick.